So yeah, thanks again for joining kind of GEO workshop. Really hoping to kind of take you through some really the principles that we take with our clients, and give you some kind of really practical advice to set yourself up for success within this new kind of landscape that we all find ourselves in. Don't think this statement will come as a surprise to anyone, but I think AI is the probably the most transformative technology that we've seen since probably the dawn of the internet, or the way that the computers shaped everything. I think across my career, this is probably the single most transformative change that's happened, and I think we're seeing that all around us, and the pace of change just continues to kind of grow. Cursor's not working. So yeah, I think what we've seen is that AI has drastically changed the media landscape. I'm sure you're all seeing that day to day, but also the customer journey. So our clients and our customers and our target audience are starting to kind of change their behaviors, which I'll talk about in a second. And these AI overviews and AI answer engines are really becoming kind of that front page for brands. And as I'm sure you've seen on LinkedIn or on other places, earned media has now been confirmed as playing a real critical role in succeeding in this new age. So I think us as communicators have got kind of the power to really shape how we show up to audiences and get in front of them. Like I said, how we get information has fundamentally changed. We've got kind of our AI answer engines that you're probably all familiar with. You probably all got a preference. This is just kind of an example of ChatGPT and Gemini, and the way in which that they provide information back to us, which is completely different to what we have traditionally been accustomed to with our search engines, which is more of a long list of links that we click through to find the answers. So these are your kind of LLMs, your AI answer engines, but you've also now got kind of the AI search. So with AI overview, AI mode, this kind of AI search is now in our browsers, which we all use. So when we think about the stats that we see on a daily basis, where we see that that Google still has the biggest share of search. That's completely true. I think they've still got about 89% of search. But within that environment, you're interacting with AI. So we shouldn't discount AI search in any way, shape, or form. It's fundamental to the future success of how we get in front of audiences. And with Gemini 3, I'm sure some of you have been following the news of that launch this week. That is now powering Google search. So what our whole concept of traditional search is fundamentally changed. And I think from this point on, that traditional search model has been altered and isn't going to go back to the same. So different ways in which we're finding information, and different ways in which the information comes back to us within these environments. And it's not slowing down. So ChatGPT now has 800 million weekly active users. That's just one of the LLMs. I think Gemini has 700. Google AI Overviews over 2 billion users per month. And that's from the latest figures that Google shared in the summer. So I'm sure since that point in time, it's only grown. And what that's having a massive effect on is a fundamental shift in buying behavior and customer journeys and audience preferences, as I mentioned previously. So across the people on this call, I'm sure you're working with different audiences, but from a consumer lens, kind of Gen Z and millennials are now turning to AI tools in preference to Google. So I think, these stats were collated throughout this year, and I'm sure they're only it's only grown since then. And then the B2B buying journey has been altered, and we're seeing that through a lot of reports that we're running for clients. But these two stats have taken from a Forrester report earlier this year, in which they found that B2B buyers are going to be using Gen AI not only for the initial research, which I think is what we all kind of link AI search to, which is that initial research part, but to support purchase decisions as well, which is critical. So, and I think that's the fundamental aspect of this change to with AI is previously, and I'll touch upon this here, about the zero click, the rise in zero click search. And I think this is what's really the bedrock of this change is that we're seeing when we speak to clients more and more that when we look at their kind of Google Analytics and do some web audits with them, that clicks are dropping off their websites, and I'm sure you're all seeing the same on your site as well. And that's because users are trusting the information that they're getting out of these AI search environments. So they're not having to click through to a website to find any more information. For communicators, that kind of it gives us two things to be aware of. It means that we need to be in those answers that AI serves up, because you obviously, that's, as I mentioned before, that's the front door to your audience. And if you don't show up there, you're going to quickly get out of that mind share of your target audience. But it also poses a risk. And the risk is that if audiences aren't clicking through to find the information themselves and they're accepting that information from the AI answer engines, the AI is synthesizing information from all manner of sources, and you need to make sure that your brand and your messaging shows up correctly within there. So kind of auditing your brand presence is critical, and I'll touch upon that a bit later on in the deck. So the fact, as I mentioned before, is that AI has fundamentally changed the landscape. The reality is, and this is what we're seeing from a lot of the work that we've been doing with clients, is that most PR professionals are still using that same playbook. I think there's a knowledge that things need to change, that things need to shift, but I think there are still a lot of confusions and questions when we speak to clients and when I talk to different people going to conferences. And I think it's about that not knowing where to start. There's a lot of conflicting information. There's a lot of information that might seem overly technical. And also we're in this hype cycle, which is, okay, so is this hype versus reality? What's my priorities? Should I prioritize AI search while still juggling your day-to-day job and the pressure that's coming down from your stakeholders? So I think the purpose of this workshop is to arm you with those tools and the knowledge to help you answer these questions and succeed. So I don't know if I'm just going to take a pause and see, does this chime with everyone's reality that they're seeing within their business and within their roles at the moment? Everyone can stay quiet if they want. I can keep going. No audience participation is required, but it would be nice if you wanted to get involved. So, as I mentioned, the reality is what we just spoke about on the previous slide, and we really need a GEO playbook to succeed in this. And the reason for that is, if your audiences use AI, which I'm pretty sure 100% of people on this call would agree, you need a GEO strategy. The reason for that is, whilst there are subtle similarities with SEO, and I'll touch upon that when we talk about content, there are differences, and GEO and AI search needs to be considered as its own channel. So when you're thinking about your go-to-market strategy and where to reach your audience, AI search needs to be considered as its own separate thing. How do we do this? So what we do with clients is we follow this kind of like 4-step process. And I'm going to, over the next few slides, going to go into each individual step so that you can really get an understanding of how to get to grips with this. So the first aspect is kind of more of a technical step. And whenever we say technical, this can sound daunting, but it's not. I'll show you how to kind of get started with this. And what that technical optimization means is just ensuring that the AI models can find you. So a lot of us, I'm sure, if any of your websites are using Cloudflare, Cloudflare automatically blocks any AI crawlers. It's not a difficult change to make to invite the crawlers in. Your web master just needs to uncheck the default setting and let them in. But a lot of clients that we speak to have just maintained the default setting within their Cloudflare environment, and that's stopping any AI being able to crawl your site and find the great content that you've got within your site. So the first part is really to let the crawlers in. The second part is really to start auditing your AI footprint and your AI visibility. So this is, if there are a lot of tools out there. Obviously, Hotwire has its own proprietary AI visibility tool, Hotwire Spark, which I'll show you a bit about today. But we know that there are a ton of tools out there on the market, like Profound, Peak, SEMrush have got their own tool. You may already subscribe to one of these and use one of them. That's totally fine. So it's about understanding how to audit your AI footprint and understanding the types of information to get out of there to start superpowering and really powering up your comms efforts. Thirdly, it's about optimizing for the robot audience. So within your traditional, if I said this about 3 years ago, you'd all look at me like it's some kind of sci-fi thing, but the robot audience is real, and we want to include the robot audience in our kind of target personas. So we want to write for AI, but obviously still having that human element. We don't want to only write for an AI audience, but we want to make sure our content is as optimized and as structured for AI discoverability as possible. And then finally, we want to optimize for our authority. So we want to really kind of write for substance and secure mentions and citations in those trusted third-party publications. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, earned media is a critical way to increase your AI visibility across LLMs and AI search. So you want to understand who those trusted third-party publications are, and then obviously do your magic and use your expertise to get those earned media mentions and use some of your kind of original data and insights to get published within them. So that's our kind of like 4-step process that we go through. So I'll start with the technical optimization. And as I mentioned, it's really about letting the right crawlers onto your site. Again, I'm just going to mention, if anyone's got any questions at any point, feel free to kind of like drop that in the chat, put your hand up, stop me as I go, because this is where we get to the good stuff and give you some great insights. So there are 2 parts of kind of AI bot crawlability, and this might look a bit daunting, a bit technical. It's not. I'll break it down for you. So one part is we've got kind of the robots.txt file that sits on your site, and this shows you, and this defines whether you let the crawlers onto your site. So you can see on the left-hand side, and I'll show you this in a second, this shows you whether you're allowing AI crawlers to crawl the content on your site. So you can see here we've got kind of allow OpenAI's GPT bot, allow Google AI crawlers, and underneath that, they all say allow. Um, if if they weren't allowed, you would get a completely different message. It would say disallowed. So that's what you want to see. So when you look at the robots.txt file, um, that's how it should be set up. So that's one part. And then the second part is the firewall. So you can see here, you've got different bots that try to access your site. And we can test the site to see if your firewall is blocking these. Just to go over this table, you've got kind of 3 OpenAI bots here, all for different types of searches that they do on your site. You've got kind of Google, Claude, Perplexity, so on and so forth. So you've got a plethora of AI bots trying to access your site. And if they're blocking these, your content that you produce and the information in your own channels, which is fundamentally critical to your brand reputation, won't be accessible by AI. So at this point, I will ask for some audience participation if anyone wants to get involved. And it'd be great to get someone to give me their URL for their site, and we can check it out using our tool, which I'll show you, which is Hotwire Radiate, which is a proprietary tool that we've created to help our clients understand and go through these steps that I was just talking to you about. So succeed with GEO, optimize content, understand whether their site is crawlable. Here you can see the test results for hotwireglobal.com. So Sylvia, I will give you some kudos for letting the right crawlers in. As you can see, we get the AI coverage here, the robots.txt file. You can see we allow all of the AI bots here. If you were wanting to know how you might look for the robots.txt file yourself, after this, you just type in the domain and then you type that into the browser, and this is how you find the information for yourself. So that's just a quick overview. But if anyone would like me to scan your site, let me know now. Or Sylvie, Joe, you've come off mute.
I
I
have.
have a willing
I'm on
participant.
everything. Um, that
Nice to
so
meet you,
that,
by the
yeah, you as well, mate. So that piece of code that you just put in, that you just flashed up, I will give you the company name as well.
way.
Um, but the piece of code that you flashed up there, so that will
Mhm.
allow you to see if it's crawlable. Yeah, you've got the
Yes.
allow on. So that's just a snapshot basically to show if it is or isn't crawlable. It doesn't allow, that's not how you would change it, for example.
No, so your
Oh.
web, the person managing your website would change these settings. So um, you can just update the robots.txt file. So in here,
Yeah.
and when we do your example in a second, Joe, hopefully you let the crawlers in. But if you don't, we can give you the suggested robots.txt file, and you can literally just copy and paste that to update.
Oh, great. And then that's on the back end. Yeah, I've just stuck it in the chat.
Okay, 1 second. Let's try and copy that. Okay, that didn't copy. This is where Zoom doesn't allow me to copy from the
It
chat,
doesn't.
which isn't a...
Oh, you've got it anyway. You can, yeah.
Yeah, ambitiouspr.co.uk.
And what's the company name, Joe? Is it Ambitious PR?
Yeah, just be ambitious. No PR.
Okay.
Should work.
Okay, what that's going to do is it will conduct a check, so it might take a few minutes. So So yeah, what this is going to allow us to do, like I said, I'll just flip over back to this page. So this is going to just run a quick test to see what's accessible or not to on your site. So as we can see here in this example, again, this we could have got egg on our own face if this hadn't worked for our site, but Sylvia got everything set up with the team. So everything's accessible. So if it had failed, we'd get a failed notice and different codes. So code 200, just to give you some background, is almost like a delay type code. It would like time out. So that isn't a kind of mission critical code by any stretch of the imagination, but it just means that there's a delay on your site. And if there's a delay on your site, it makes the information harder to crawl, and the AI might go elsewhere to crawl it, or it might delay the pickup of any new information that you put on your site. The codes that start with the 4, so 400 codes, that's when the AI can't actually access your site because of the yeah. So Joe, you can share this with your team, and we can Sylvia, I don't know if you want to take a screenshot or
I'm
we
already
can
taking one, don't worry.
yeah, so we can essentially, this shows you that you are blocking the so if I just go back.
And you checked it, so it's just web domain, like the core domain, and then / robots.
TXT. So yeah, this is what it should show you.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
When
Yeah.
yeah, so we can essentially, with our clients, we can give them the suggested robots TXT file that it should be to allow the crawlers.
Yeah.
It looks like, you've got the Cloudflare protection error. So I imagine the default setting has been set. So, and as I mentioned before, it's a really quick change for your web team to make, and they should just be able. I think it's when they first log in, it's almost like the first screen that they get to. They can just uncheck that default setting, and it will start allowing the AI to crawl the site. So, as I mentioned, you can see different codes here. 200 is almost like a timeout code. This is a server error code here, but you can see
Yeah.
that there's a 403 forbidden code on there as well. So you this is the type of thing that we can get through Radiate, which is great. And obviously you all know now how to access your own robots.txt file, which is what you put in the browser. So yeah, this is really the first step, because if you don't allow the AI to crawl your site,
Yeah.
you are not going to get anything on AI. It may have indexed old information before, so you may see your name come up in AI chatbots, even if it's blocking it, because AI obviously still crawls, and it's maybe old historic data in their training data, so on and so forth. But this just won't pull in any new information. Ryan, go for it. Oh, sorry, Joe, you had one more
Oh,
question.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, or potentially, I guess, so like other references. So
Yeah,
if it,
so there could be links between from other pages,
yeah,
but this is just going to stop the AI like crawling your site
yeah,
itself.
that makes
Ryan, you
sense.
had no worries.
Yeah, hey, thanks for putting this on today. So far so good. But and you may address this in a bit, but working in-house with AI, obviously we have a security team that's all over everything. So what kind
Mhm.
of security implications are there for doing this? But also, how do you convince your security team that you should be allowing this if there are those risks?
Yeah, I mean, I We haven't come across any security risks to stop the AI crawling your site. To be honest, I don't think that's the issue that Cloudflare. I think Cloudflare just put a blanket stop on just because that's their default position rather than any security risk. So what we essentially the benefits to your security team would be if we don't allow the AI to crawl, our brand won't be, I know this is more of a branding benefit, but our company will stop kind of being as visible and to our target audience, and we're going to lose. We're already losing traffic from clicks not coming to the site, and we're going to lose kind of share of mind from the AI crawlers. So I don't think there's any security implications to updating the robots.txt file. It's not like altering, it's not reducing the security of the site. It's just allowing the AI to crawl.
Okay. Good to know. Just before going into a conversation with them.
Of course. No,
it's more of the implications are business implications, not security implications.
Yeah, exactly. You said it much more succinctly than me, Ryan, as a communicator.
I had time to think about it while you were talking. Cool, thanks.
Perfect. So if I just flip back to the deck. And thank you, Joe, for being a willing participant there. So once we've done that kind of technical audit and we've optimized our page to be crawled by the AI, the next step, as I mentioned before, is about discovery optimization. So this is where we start to audit kind of your brand presence. And this is where you would audit your brand presence. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of different tools on the market. What I would say as a reminder before we jump into the world of AI search is AI search fundamentally, it works fundamentally differently to traditional search. So traditional search is all keyword based. So in traditional search, you would put in like a 2-3 word query. Google, most of the time Google, but Bing, wherever, would match the results but based on that keyword. AI search is fundamentally different because it's semantic search. So semantic search essentially means it's about who's asking what and why. So the information that I get from my ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot will be different to what Sylvia sees or what Carsten sees or what Ryan sees, because we have our own search history within these AI answer engines. And from that search history, the AI starts to build up a picture of who you are, what you do, how advanced an AI user you are, and it responds differently to you as an individual. So with that in mind, that's how we've built our proprietary AI tool, Hotwire Spark. So if you just build an AI search visibility platform based on a keyword, that's not going to give you the correct results for your target audience. It's going to give you kind of a generic result. So a lot of the AI visibility tools on the market still just work with keywords. So I just wanted to caution that. So it's important to have this in mind when you approach AI search. If you don't have access to an AI visibility tool at the moment, obviously we would be delighted to speak to you, and Gabrielle can kind of speak to you about that. But obviously you can conduct your own searches within any kind of AI just to get a baseline. And within those searches, you would just prompt the AI to ask a question as if it was a CIO, if the CIO is your target audience, and say, you're a CIO, ask questions about data centers in the context of scalability or whatever it might be for your thing. And then you're trying to replicate how your target audience is searching. So it's at the moment, and this is the same for all, and again, this is me just giving you some things to be mindful of as you dive into the world of AI search. Everyone is using synthetic prompts right now because there isn't a central database like a Google Search Console that gives you access to all of the prompts that people are using, so on and so forth. So the best thing that you can do is try to replicate as closely as possible to what your target audience are doing to get a good result that you can start to learn from. So I just wanted to add all of that to be mindful that we're sharing knowledge in this workshop. So I wanted to share that with you so you can kind of go forwards in the best possible way. So how do you do this? So auditing your AI footprint. So you want to start to benchmark as we would do with any good measurement practice. We want to obviously understand what the objective is, and then we want to benchmark how AI models interpret and represent your brand. So as I mentioned before, one of the critical things that we can do with these AI search tools is start to understand what your brand reputation is, and so on and so forth. So we can start to benchmark your visibility. And then what you want to start to do from a media relations standpoint is start identifying which sources are influencing the AI search results. So obviously your own channels, your own content is going to be critical to that, but what third-party channels there are, so what are intermediate sites. And this is where you can start to, in your kind of comms roles, you're always going to have your tier one media lists that they're never going to go away. Those traditional media outlets that are critical to being secure because that's what your CEO wants to be seen in or what have you. But now you can supplement that list with an AI tier one list of its own, because there are going to be sites that may be more niche than what's on your tier one list that show up as being of critical influence to an AI search. And then what you want to do is identify the topics that AI most associates with your brand, so that then you can start to refine your content strategy. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to share my screen and show you a recent report that we did for a client of ours and show you how this comes together. So I won't take too long on this because I've got so many other things to take you through. So what I want to show you is it's about who's asking. So our agentic AI model allows us to put the target audience in. So who's asking? So this is the target audience. The what is the keywords. So the different keywords here. And the why is the context. So what context would this target audience be searching for video telematics in Gemini? And the results from the US and the UK in this instance come from these top sites. So you can see that it's pulling from a lot of owned sites of competitors. You've got YouTube showing up as a critical source. So this is how you can start to benchmark visibility within this. And we can see that from a competitive standpoint, for our client, they can get an understanding quickly of how they stack up to their competitors within this. As I mentioned before, there isn't a single source, data source or resource for any chatbot. So this has to be looked at in the context of the prompts that you're using. But we can start to analyze results in different topics and different keywords. So for this example with this client, we looked at a few different keywords and topics. So for them, we looked at kind of vehicle tracking and in different things. So web-based vehicle tracking is just an individual topic, and live vehicle tracking. And we can see that this client had limited visibility across different competitors. So we're able to understand, okay, why is that? Who are the leaders in this topic? Do they make sense to the client because of maybe investments, budgets, so on and so forth? But we can start to understand, okay, so if another company and a competitor is showing up as a clear competitor, why might that be? And we noticed that a specific blog post was driving a huge amount of citations for them across across the LLMs. So as an immediate access, immediate recommendation, sorry, was, could you produce a blog that answers the same types of questions? And are your blog posts optimized for AI? And then obviously another critical insight is what type of content is resonating or influencing, sorry, the AI, and YouTube being a leading media source, especially across Gemini, video content is going to be critical to increase your visibility there. So when we've got that information, we can start to understand what content themes are pulling through the most by using a tool like Hotwire Spark, and we can start to say, okay, so these are the different content themes that you need to start writing about if you want to increase your AI visibility. So these are 4 examples of themes that we would recommend to our client for this topic area of vehicle tracking. And then what are the kind of sub themes beneath that they should write about? So this is how you start to build up a picture of what types of content are influencing the AI and what you can start to build your authority around as a brand. So hopefully that all makes sense. So once you've got that content and you understand what content themes and topics that you need to start writing about, the second or the third part in our process is all about content optimization. So Carsten, go for it before I jump forwards.
Yeah, just a quick question in terms of sources and the media. Are gated publications affected? Like, will an AI crawler be blocked by that, or typically can they get through to articles, right?
So they can't. It's about whether the publisher has a kind of partnership or an agreement with the AI. But this comes on to a second part, is that meta descriptions of pages are now critical for kind of AI crawlability and visibility. So if the meta description of a page needs to be really rich now so that AI can read what that page is on. So if I know you're probably talking about owned sites, but your own sites, if you had a ebook or whatever it might be, and it's gated, just make sure that the meta description explains exactly what is on that ebook or whatever it might be, white paper, if it's gated, so that the AI understands the context and the intent and the topics. But Carsten, to your point about kind of those gated sites, if the AI has a partnership with them, they'll be able to access them. And we've seen, with our clients, that gated sites still come through within those citations.
Great, thank you.
So content optimization. So kind of the SEO best practices still hold true for GEO. The kind of subtle differences are that obviously the EEAT principles still hold true. Kind of you need to build your topical authority through pillars and cluster pages. So those pillars would be those content themes that I talked about before, but you want to start building clusters around that interlink on your site to build that authority. And you want to understand your AI citability score to understand how citable your content is. With Hotwire Radiate, we can do that, and I'll show you that in a second. So some principles, and I know that we don't have much time left, so I'm going to go through this not too quickly so you don't understand, but I won't read everything on the slide. So we want to make content easy for LLMs to quote and trust. That's important. So in an answer engine, we want to have answer first writing. So we want to start every section with a 2 to 4 sentence direct answer. And why that's critical is if we think about back to the semantic search about who's asking what and why, that answer is going to be directly correlating to the audience's intent when they're writing a prompt. So the AI knows to link your site and your content back to that prompt and build your authority around that area. You obviously want to put kind of claims and stats and in the first paragraph. Make every paragraph one idea, 2 to 4 sentences. So this is something that we were talking about internally yesterday about kind of you want paragraphs to be kind of less than 90 words. So ideally about 30 to 45 words so that it's easy for the AI to read. And then end key sections with a TLDR so that that the AI can easily take that information and synthesize it and correlate it to the topic. So we have on these slides just a quick ship check when you're making content easy for them to quote and trust. You want to use natural language, H2 and H3s that mirror prompts. So you want to maybe this is different to how we've written content in the past, but we want to start headers on our content with kind of what is, how to, why does, so that it answers questions again, similar to the previous slide. So this immediately answers the question. And then, as I'm sure you've all seen, FAQ blocks are AI crawlers' best friends. So you want to ensure that you've got an FAQ block at the end of any content to answer some of those most asked questions, so that the AI can easily match your content back to those questions. You want a scannable structure. So listicles are also another best friend of AI. So again, you may have seen that. So bullets, numbered steps, tables should be included. Bold key takeaways and entities, again, so that the AI can lift that easily from your content. And similar to what we said before, you want a real clear structure. So you want a H1, H2, H3 hierarchy. So that means that no huge walls of text on your content, because the AI is just not going to read that. So we want to make sure that the headings are mapped clearly to that content beneath, so that the AI can just easily link it, because AI search obviously works on a predictive token model. So you want to make sure that the AI can link back to your content in that way. And then you want quotable, citation-friendly lines. So standalone facts and memorable stats. Keep numbers round and quotable. So this is something that maybe you may not have considered before, but if you've got a stat that says 41.3% of the audience is X, Y, and Z, you might want to round that because that's how the AI likes to read these kinds of stats. Obviously, you want to keep it truthful and factual, so don't change the numbers too much. But this is just something that we've noticed as a step when advising clients on the content. So I'm just going to dive back into Radiate real quickly to show you what this looks like in reality. And we've chosen one of the blog posts from one of our SVPs on cybersecurity. So Jess wrote a great blog post on the site. What we did, we put it through Radiate, and it essentially, her blog post, to be fair, was already great, but Radiate has just done a side-by-side optimization of this content, and you can see what the difference is. That it's added this FAQ section, and if I scroll down, what Radiate allows us to do is understand the citability, the potential citability for this type of content. And it breaks down this score so that we can understand, okay, so out of 100, how citable is this piece of content now by AI? And this gives us a really great understanding of the potential citability of a piece of content, and gives us some rationale for why that is. So this allows us to take any piece of content and optimize it for AI. So we can either ingest original content, not original content, the content itself, so we can copy and paste the content directly in there, or we can take it from the URL itself if the AI can crawl your site, obviously. And then we give you a citability score. So you wouldn't want to go anything above 90, I wouldn't say. So normally every time of scoring methodology, we want to strive to 100 out of 100. But in this instance, we don't want to do that, because that means we're only writing for robots. And we still want to keep our human voice, of course. So 86 is probably like the best score that we want to maintain a human voice while still optimizing for robots. So just a note on that. And obviously I'm conscious of time, so if you want a demo of Radiate and you want to dig into this at any further point, just reach out and let us know at the end of the session. So EEAT may be an acronym that you're familiar with, it might not be. This has been like the bedrock of SEO, good SEO for as long as SEO has been around, but experience, expertise, authority, and trust. That's what the acronym stands for. And you want to show all of them in your content. So one of the best ways to, one of the best examples of these types of articles are press releases, because you're trying to demonstrate all of this throughout probably a press release, which is why press releases are showing up heavily in AI search. If you've done your own studies, you see this throughout. And you want to name your brand in the content. So this is where, with zero click especially, you need your brand to be inserted into the content where it's obviously natural, and which is where, when it's cited by earned, you can start to seed that entity co-occurrence. And then, as I mentioned, you want to build your topical authority. So this is where you want to get a critical topic, and you want one comprehensive pillar and then many focused subpages that it links out to. So if you've got internal linking in your content that links to other pieces of content on your site, that builds authority with AI. So you want to start linking back and forwards to this. Yeah, Alex, we'll share everything after this recording.
Awesome.
And
thank you.
And I realized that I'm quickly running out of time, which is a shame, because I've still got some good slides to show. But yeah, we'll share all of this. And also, if you wanted us to do a workshop for your teams, if you want us to come in and do that, we can also do that. We're doing that with our clients as well. So if this is something that anyone's interested in on this call, reach out to us, and I would happily come and speak to your team as well and do the same presentation, or a different presentation on like measurement or reporting. So authority optimization, the final part in our process. So as I mentioned, PR is fundamental to reaching audiences in the age of AI search. There are so many different studies out there on the impact of earned media. Some studies say 90%, of citations are driven by earned media, we see about 50 or 60% still a huge amount of influence in that. And this is where we can start to work with, understand what are the trusted sites for our topics, and start to work with them to get citations within them. It's mindful to know that different AIs prefer different sources. As I mentioned before, we saw on Gemini that YouTube show up really high as a trusted source, and you want to maintain that consistent message on key topics across all channels. So that peso, if you're going out with your comm strategy, to really create that surround sound effect for different audiences, again, so that AI, you build authority with AI as you go. This is taken from that kind of example that I showed earlier about the different sources influencing. Again, you may have seen on LinkedIn charts going around, images going around of, this is where AI gets its facts from. Beware of those charts, because no one knows exactly where AI gets its facts from, because AI training data and AI data itself is absolutely humongous. But what you can present back to clients in best practice is, this is where the sources that are influencing AI search within the context of what our target audience is doing, and within the context of these prompts that we've looked at. So you can see here for Gemini and Google AI Overview, YouTube came out as the top site. Really interesting. LinkedIn here comes up as a site for Google AI Overview, because it's not an AI answer engine, it's not an LLM, but LinkedIn actually blocks AI crawlers. So because Google AI Overview is still on kind of the Google traditional search, it will index LinkedIn and you can still get authority throughout it. But you can see some earned media sites that this client could start working with. So Fleet News is shown up in all of these, Fleet Owner, so on and so forth. So this is where you can take this information and work with it. We can also see what type of content is being preferred by each LLM. It's not only the sources that the different LLMs prefer, it's the type of content. So for ChatGPT, we saw in this example that knowledge-based type pages were being cited really heavily, like 45% of one of the competitors' citations all came from their help center or knowledge base, because those pages are directly answering questions, whereas AI overviews were taken from solution guides and white papers and blog posts. So it's really interesting to see how different LLMs and different AI search environments prefer different content, and you need to build that into your strategies. And you need to build this into your everyday. So this is where you need to, don't go all in on AI. As in, when I say that, I mean, be a human. You're all experts on this call. And if you use AI to automatically pitch to journalists, they're going to know that it's AI. So use AI as a guide, but use your expertise always to guide that interaction. You can optimize on the wire. So about 2 years ago, I would have probably said the press release is dead, maybe a bit dramatic. But with AI search and LLMs, the press release is alive and well. So you want to optimize for the wire as well. We're seeing PR Newswire was showing up well in one of the reports, like Notified kind of do a good job with distributing and getting AI citability. And then you want to start weaving all of this into your measurement and reporting. Again, be mindful that this is a certain kind of segment of the picture. You don't want to say this is our overall share of model, because no one actually knows that across any AI. So you want to be mindful of that. So in summary, I've rattled through that to try to get through to the end. You want to make sure that you've got the robot audience in mind. You want to know how your brand is showing up in AI search. So you want to take that kind of foundation and audit You can obviously, we would love for you to use Hotwire Spark for that, but you can use different tools as well. You want to keep your message and story consistent, but optimizing for each audience and channel. So those fundamentals still hold true. And AI visibility tracking should be a guide. It's not a, like, don't use it as kind of like a single data point as a fact, because as I mentioned, there isn't like a search console or anything, and it should be used alongside other metrics. So anything that overpromises, be skeptical of that and be transparent with your leadership, and obviously use AI to help you. It's there to help. Don't worry about getting started. Dive in, and hopefully some of these principles and fundamentals that I've shared today can help. And this is how we can help with GEO. So we've got 2 proprietary solutions, both of which I showed on this call today, Hotwire Spark and Hotwire Radiate, and they are helping our clients kind of succeed in this age of AI. So I rattled through that at the end very quickly, and I don't know if we've got time for questions. So apologies for that, but yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to stop sharing. And I appreciate you all giving your time today. And apologies that I had to like rattle through that last section so quickly. But if you've got any questions at any point on any of that content, feel free to reach out to me directly. DM me on LinkedIn, like or speak to Gabrielle, and we can get some demos of any of the proprietary solutions that we showed you today. But really appreciate you giving up an hour of your time. And yeah, I can hang around for a few minutes of questions if anyone has any. And as Sylvia just mentioned, if you want to bring us in to do a workshop for any of the wider team, we would be delighted to do that.